You probably think about fiber the same way most people do. Eat your vegetables, stay regular, done. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Most of the fiber you eat never even reaches the bacteria that need it most. And the ones that do reach them, they don't just help you go to the bathroom. They produce a compound that may be one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer substances your body makes on its own. It's called butyrate. And after 60, your ability to produce it matters more than it ever has. Let's talk about what it is, where it comes from, and how to get your gut making more of it, starting with your next meal. Your colon is home to roughly 38 trillion bacteria. That number is almost too large to feel real. But think of it this way. You have as many bacterial cells in your gut as you have human cells in your entire body. These bacteria aren't passengers, they're workers. They digest things your stomach can't touch. They train your immune system. They communicate with your brain, and they produce compounds that your colon cells literally run on for fuel. The most important of those compounds is butyrate. It's a short-chain fatty acid, a tiny molecule produced when certain bacteria ferment specific types of fiber. Your colon lining uses butyrate as its primary energy source. Without it, those cells weaken. The protective lining thins, inflammation creeps in. Studies have linked low butyrate production to a significantly higher risk of colorectal cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, and chronic gut permeability, what many people call leaky gut. And after 60, the natural diversity of your gut bacteria tends to decline, which means your butyrate production tends to go with it. The good news is you can feed this system back to life, but only if you understand which fiber actually does the job. You've heard that fiber is good for you. What you probably haven't heard is that there are completely different types of fiber, and they do completely different things inside your body. The first type is insoluble fiber. This is the roughage, the stuff in wheat bran, corn husks, and most vegetable skins. It doesn't dissolve in water. It moves through your digestive system mostly unchanged, adding bulk and pushing things along. It helps with regularity. It's important, but it never reaches your colon in a form they can use. The second type is soluble fiber. This one dissolves in water and forms a thick gel as it moves through your small intestine. That gel slows down sugar absorption, which is wonderful for blood sugar management, something we've covered before in our episode on insulin resistance and the vegetables first rule. But here's what makes soluble fiber truly special. A portion of it survives all the way down to your colon, where your bacteria can finally get to it. And then there's a third category that deserves its own moment: resistant starch. This is starch that resists digestion in your small intestine entirely. It arrives in your colon completely intact and becomes one of the richest fermentation fuels for butyrate-producing bacteria. Most people are eating almost none of it, and that gap is costing them. Not all gut bacteria produce butyrate. The specific ones that do, species like Faecalibacterium prausnitzii and Roseburia intestinalis, are among the most beneficial microbes in your colon. They're also among the most sensitive to what you eat. Feed them the right fibers and they thrive. Feed them a diet of processed foods, refined grains, and very little plant variety, and their populations collapse within days. Research has shown that significant microbial shifts can happen in as little as 48 hours after changing your diet. That cuts both ways, toward harm and toward healing. These bacteria are strict fermenters. They don't eat protein. They don't process fat. They survive specifically on fermentable fiber and resistant starch. So every time you skip the beans or choose white rice over a cooked and cooled potato, you're essentially letting their food supply dry up. Once your bacteria ferment the right fibers and produce butyrate, something remarkable happens. Your colon cells absorb it immediately and use it as their primary energy source. Roughly 70% of the energy that fuels your colon lining comes directly from butyrate. This keeps the lining thick, intact, and functioning as a proper barrier. But butyrate doesn't just stop at the colon wall. It also acts as a signaling molecule that tells colon cells when to stop dividing abnormally. It promotes programmed cell death in precancerous cells. It reduces inflammation throughout the gut by suppressing certain immune pathways that trigger chronic irritation. Beyond the colon, butyrate influences gut motility, keeping things moving at the right pace rather than too fast or too slow. It communicates with the enteric nervous system, that web of nerve tissue that runs through your entire digestive tract. And there's growing evidence it plays a role in regulating appetite and signaling satiety to the brain. This is one molecule, and your colon bacteria make it for free if you give them what they need. Here's where this becomes practical. The best sources of fermentable soluble fiber are foods you probably already recognize: oats, barley, legumes like lentils and chickpeas, and cooked vegetables like onions, leeks, and garlic. They contain a specific type of soluble fiber, beta-glucan and inulin, that butyrate-producing bacteria love. But the real secret weapon is resistant starch, and the most surprising source of it is one you've likely thrown away. When you cook potatoes, rice, or pasta and then let them cool completely before eating, something happens at the molecular level. The starch structure reorganizes into a form that your digestive enzymes can't break down. This is called retrograded resistant starch. A cold-boiled potato has significantly more resistant starch than a hot one. Yesterday's rice, eaten cold or gently reheated, is far richer in it than freshly cooked. Other excellent sources of resistant starch include underripe bananas, the slightly green ones, not the spotted brown ones, cooked and cooled legumes, and unmodified potato starch stirred into cold water. Raw oats that you soak overnight rather than cooking also retain more of their fermentable structure. A simple overnight oat preparation is, nutritionally speaking, a completely different food than a hot bowl of oatmeal. You don't need to overhaul your diet. You need to shift a few patterns. Add one daily portion of legumes. A quarter cup of cooked lentils, black beans, or chickpeas adds up fast. Toss them into soup, mix them into a salad, or serve them as a simple side. The bacteria in your colon will notice within 48 hours. Make a habit of cooking and cooling your starches. Prepare a batch of potatoes or rice, refrigerate overnight, and reheat gently, or eat cold in a salad. The cooling process does the work for you. No special technique required. Choose slightly underripe bananas over very ripe ones when you want the gut benefit rather than the sweetness. The flavor difference is subtle, but the fermentation benefit in your colon is significant. Eat a variety of plant foods, not just more of the same ones. The diversity of your fiber sources directly shapes the diversity of your microbial community, and broader diversity means more stable, more resilient gut health. Aim for 15 to 20 different plant foods per week. That sounds like a lot, but herbs, spices, nuts, and seeds all count. And be patient with the process. If you've been eating a low-fiber diet, increasing quickly can cause bloating and gas as your bacterial populations shift. Start gradually. Add one new fiber source per week and give your gut a few weeks to adjust before judging the results. Your colon is not just a waste processing system. It's a fermentation factory, an immune training ground, and a signaling hub that talks to your brain, your metabolism, and your immune system every day. The bacteria living there are working on your behalf, but only if you hold up your end of the agreement. They need the fibers and resistant starches that modern processed food has almost entirely removed. When that supply disappears, so does the butyrate, and with it, the protection those compounds provide. After 60, this relationship deserves your full attention. The lining of your colon, the diversity of your microbiome, your resistance to inflammation, all of it connects back to what reaches that final stretch of your digestive tract each day. You have more control over that than any supplement bottle can give you, and it starts at the grocery store or right inside your own refrigerator with a pot of rice you cooked yesterday. If this gave you something to think about or something to act on, hit like so more people can find it, and subscribe if you want the next one, because we're going back to the gut again soon with a topic that surprises almost everyone. Take care of that colon. It's taking care of you.